Are you at all concerned about AI?
Oh my god. Am I concerned about it?
Yeah, are you concerned at all?
Um,
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the GlobeFocus podcast. I am your host, Andrew James, and this week I got to sit down with my good friend, Christopher Shepard. He is a travel filmmaker by trade. He's a full-time employee at the company Beautiful Destinations. You guys might know them on Instagram. I actually met Chris working with him at Beautiful Destinations, and in this episode, we talk a lot about just all the nitty-gritty details of editing travel content, getting into a creative flow, and everything like that. Thank you so much for all the support on this podcast. So without further ado, let's jump into this week's discussion. I am here in actually Washington, where I live. We're back on the home turf. I'm doing a shoot with my friend Christopher Shepard for Beautiful Destinations or Beautiful Hotels.
yeah.
Chris, you're a full-time employee with them, right?
I am a full-time employee for Beautiful Destinations.
Are you the
That's
longest employee they've had yet?
I'm one of the longest employees, I think, but not the longest.
Longest
I think
running.
There's still a couple of people that have been there longer than me.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time, actually. And I still feel like the new guy, believe it or not.
You feel like the new guy
I
at
still
BD?
kind of do.
You're like,
well, not really.
You're like the
now,
grandfather.
but I still have that feeling of like when I first started, when I like felt super new. That's still like fresh.
Well, that's
in my
normal
head.
to feel like you're still settling in. Plus,
Yeah.
I feel like these past 4 years have gone by really quickly. Which
Yeah, and it's been weird since COVID and everything.
yeah. Well, for those who don't have like context, how would you describe what Beautiful Destinations is?
So it's a creative agency that specializes in video production and marketing for travel-related brands or tourism boards and hotels.
Yeah.
So pretty much anything that has to do with travel, we could potentially make a video for.
Yeah, and it's sick because I used to work for Beautiful Destinations back in the day for a couple of years, and Chris was one of the first people who was there when I got there, and he helped me a lot, honestly. He taught me a lot of what I know. He's a very talented filmmaker, videographer, and we're just going to get into the nitty-gritty details of what it's like to be a creator for Beautiful Destinations today. It's a bit off topic, but it does apply to travel in general, and Chris has got a lot of information about this whole situation.
I do, yeah. I know all the tea.
But first off, let's talk about what I think is really fascinating about you, which is how you got into filmmaking. So let's not go all the way back to the GoPro, but talk about like when you were an engineer or when you were going to school. Start us in school in Delaware.
Yeah, so I went to University of Delaware, and I had kind of a traditional upbringing, so my parents really pushed me to do something in the maths and sciences. So because of that, I picked a degree in civil engineering to study. So I studied civil engineering for 4 years at Delaware. Social media wasn't really a thing. I'm a little bit older than some people in the game right now. So Instagram, photography, videography wasn't really a career path. So I decided to study civil engineering, and I got a degree in that and did that full time for 2 years after college. But I knew it really wasn't for me. And on the sides, like on the nights and on the weekends, I was pursuing videography and photography on like a freelance basis because I knew I wanted to have a career in this field instead. So I did that until somebody from Beautiful Destinations, Tom Johnsey, shout out to him, actually discovered my work on Instagram and reached out and kind of offered me a job at Beautiful Destinations. And it's kind of been...
It's been the road ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Beautiful Destinations, like you said, it's like they make videos for like tourism boards and hotel social medias, but they're like high-end cinematic content. That's what it's sold as. It's like a very specific type of content, and I don't even know if you could really describe it to someone who's not in the space. But what was it like for you, having a side hustle in college? What were your first freelance jobs?
I didn't really have the side hustle in college. That was kind of still when it was just a hobby. I traveled a lot with my family, so I'd kind of shoot photos and videos on those trips. That's kind of how I started getting into it. But then when I was a full-time engineer, it really did become a side hustle because I knew it was like my only way out.
Yeah.
So the first job I got probably was... Some of the first jobs I was getting were like weddings.
Okay.
Probably like second shooting for a wedding, sorority videos, which were an interesting thing to film. And then actually one of my best kind of first projects I had was just from my friend. He's this artist. His name's Gentry. I'm based in Maryland, and he also went to high school with me and lives in Maryland. And he's an artist, makes some incredible work, and just kind of wanted a promo video for his brand. And that was a super creative project. I didn't really get paid anything for it. It was really just a fun creative project between two friends, and that was a huge learning experience and like one of the most influential projects I've done at the beginning.
Okay.
So yeah, weddings, sorority videos, and just like some random creative stuff.
How important do you think, like, so you didn't really get paid for that project? And
No,
that kind of is the way the system works in the beginning of this industry, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah, I think you have to do some work for free or for less money at the beginning, just to kind of create a good, solid portfolio. And even when I wouldn't get paid something, I would put like all of my effort into it because I knew like I didn't have time to make that many videos. So if I was making a video, I knew I had to give it 100% and just make it as good as I can.
Yeah, I think making passion projects is so important, and especially like it sounds like you were working with an artist, so you're collaborating with someone. Mm-hmm. That also I think is really important because if you're not collaborating with anybody, it doesn't quite feel like it doesn't feel like quite a legit project. I think true professionals are people who can come together with another person, whether that be a client or whether that be a co-collaborator as far as like directing, and work together. And a lot of times when you're doing passion projects, when you're first starting out, you have all of the control. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to make these videos because you can control everything. But it sounds like you had to actually like work with him on like the vision for the video and everything.
Yeah, we worked together on. He had actually more of the vision for this one, but he didn't have like the video capabilities.
Well, that's even better though. Yeah. So you're executing a vision that somebody else comes up with.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we do now a lot of times. Like we have some influence over the direction of the campaigns and the hotels, but it's definitely like executing on someone else's vision.
And I kind of like being put in that box actually because I'm kind of indecisive. So when I have like total creative freedom, like I can't make any decisions. So I do like being being given the vision from someone else and kind of executing like what their ideas are.
So when you were doing this Gentry project, this was while you were an engineer?
Well, I was an engineer, yeah.
Yeah, so you have a full degree. What's your degree in?
Civil engineering.
Civil engineering?
Yeah.
And you worked on bridges, right?
Yes,
as an engineer.
like working on bridges.
And so your career path was like civil engineer, travel content creator.
Yeah.
It's like a complete
pretty
jump.
Interesting like jump, yeah.
What was the day that you quit? Do you remember?
Oh yeah, it was really scary, honestly. Like I really liked everyone I worked with. I didn't like that job, but I respected every single person I worked with and learned a lot of good life lessons and professional skills.
That's good.
That some people in the creative industry kind of lack. And I really liked my boss, really respected him. So I was really nervous to quit and let him down, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I'd been an intern at this company too. So I'd kind of like been brought
they'd fostered you up a bit.
Yeah. But I think he actually knew I was like posting stuff on Instagram and kind of could see that I had like a bright future.
Do you remember showing people like your videos when you first got started?
Yeah, I was really nervous to show them because I like didn't want criticism. Because I just couldn't handle criticism.
But I always found that they hyped you up. Like, because I think back, what's funny to me is it's like, I think my videos have gotten better, but the reactions of the people that I show my videos to has been constant. Right. And my work has definitely gotten better. So I'm just like, they're either lying to me.
I think it has to do, because they know what level you're at. So people are judging your work based on how good you are. So if you're really good, like the bar just gets higher for what their expectations are.
Totally. Makes sense. So do you think it's like, did you ever see it in your path that you were going to do something slightly untraditional? Or did you really think like, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to get married, that thing?
I definitely thought that I was eventually going to do something more untraditional.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Check. Yeah, we're fine. Sorry.
Yeah. I kind of like, I knew I wanted to keep traveling. I traveled a lot growing up with my family, and when I was an engineer, like I barely had any PTO, like vacation time, and so I knew I wanted to like have a different profession where I would travel more often. So I did, even though my parents brought me up traditionally, I guess they kind of accidentally also like pushed me into this type of thing.
Yeah. Did you have like a moment when you were like working, maybe not one moment, I bet it was a succession of moments, but like where you're on the bridge or you're working and you're like, I don't know if I can do this every day for the next 30
There's
years.
a couple of things. Like, so for the bridges, like I don't really like heights and you're really high off the ground while looking at them.
What were you like when they like told you, hey, by the way, we're going to put you on a bridge, and you're like,
well, I knew like that was the job, like before I signed.
Okay, so that's kind of your fault.
It wasn't a huge surprise, but like, and it's nice when it's a nice day outside, but when it's freezing cold outside, like 30 degrees, 20 degrees, and you're out there on a bridge 200 feet off the ground, trying to write notes down like with your gloves, like it's just misery.
Sounds rough.
Yeah, it's rough.
And what were your hours like?
So they were just like 9 to 5 kind of.
Okay.
9 to 5. But then there was another project which was pretty bad, which was we inspected tunnels also.
Yeah.
And those hours were at night because they only shut the tunnel down at night, and it was from like 9 p.m. to like 4 a.m. That was like a big time where I was like,
so you're
I can't
just
do this.
grinding.
It was
out
like
there.
4 months of like being in a tunnel in the pitch black with like a headlamp, like looking at stuff and like making sure like the bolts and stuff
I can't even like knowing you
secure.
now.
Yeah.
Chris is such a spoiled like content creator. He's a spoiled little. We get to shoot cool hotels, and Chris has shot I feel like more hotels than you've shot a lot of hotels at this point, and you get used to like the level of hotels you stay at.
Yeah, now I'm
So it's like it's kind of funny thinking about what we complain about on a day-to-day basis versus like what you would complain about then.
for sure.
But I always respect that about you because I think Chris has a lot of this. So like, you know, people out there who are listening might be able to relate to this, whatever industry you're in. Like people like to complain in industries. It's like a fun way of bonding. Like, that's just what people do. But Chris is always funny because he complains with us and like it's all in good fun, if that makes sense. The complaining is out of like humor, but you're always the one to be like, by the way, like we're living the dream compared to like being an engineer.
Yeah. Like I'm aware, like, and I'm appreciative that we're living the dream, but I still like can complain about stupid little things.
Which
I
is a
call
good
them like
balance.
first world dream job problems because like they're not real problems, but they're still fun to complain
Where's
about.
my vanilla oat milk latte?
Exactly.
It's taking too long.
It's like, I haven't had a coffee yet. Like, what the fuck?
Do you think there's like skills? There must be a lot of skills that you learned as an engineer that apply today in your field, right? Do you think?
Yeah, like kind of problem solving. I kind of look at video editing as like problem solving sometimes.
Yeah.
So I guess with engineering, you're problem solving. And really the big skills I learned were just professional skills, like being places on time, things like that.
What does your work primarily look like on a day-to-day basis for beautiful destinations?
So I kind of do two things. I'm either editing or I'm on a shooting. So let's start with like being on a shoot, like where we are right now. Like a typical shoot day would start at sunrise because a lot of what we're shooting is based around natural light, and the best natural light is at sunrise and sunset. So we started day around sunrise, and then we kind of just shoot all day, and maybe with a break in the middle, like a short 1 to 2 hour break. And then we kind of shoot until sunset. And then if I'm editing the video, I'll typically do media management. So after I'm done shooting, I still have like an hour and a half left of work left, which is like saving all of the footage to my hard drives and things like that. So a shoot day is a very long day. Yeah. People don't really understand that because the job looks so fun. It looks like we're on vacation all the time. But like a typical shoot day could be like 16 hours or something like that.
Totally. Very grueling.
Yeah.
And the thing too is that people know that to an extent these jobs are desirable. So sometimes they will be put on a project and we'll have a client who, or not even a client, but we'll have somebody on the set whose job is not to do this on a daily basis, and they'll want to like grind all day, start to finish, just go. But we have to kind of balance things out and make it more of a sustainable lifestyle because it's a job.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of younger creators just have that grind mentality, and that's what you have to have at the beginning, honestly. But now I've tried to learn to like kind of have more of a work-life balance, and like I don't need to be shooting every second. Like I can just take breaks. And the better I get, the less I have to shoot, actually, I feel like. Because in the past, I'd have to shoot a million times to get like a cool shot.
But now
we
know.
just know what to do.
Exactly.
And we can get it really quickly. And then so the second half of that, so when I'm editing, it's very different. It goes from like exciting shoot, craziness, cool hotels and everything. And then I have a very boring editing life. Like it just kind of starts around like 9 a.m. Like I don't really wake up that early. And then I'm pretty much just like editing all day.
Yeah.
Until
what's your editing process like? What's your editing process? Wait. What's your editing process like?
Okay. Oh God. So the first thing I do when editing is I find a song, actually.
You use Premiere Pro, though,
I use
right?
Premiere Pro. Yeah, so let's just get the programs out of the way so no one has to ask.
I want to know like the weird things about editing because like I'll give mine super quick. I'm not going to go over you, but like things like I always like clean my desk basically.
Okay.
And I'll have like a beverage there and I'll like light a candle. Do you have any quirks like that where like to help you get into a creative space, or is it really just like log on and send it?
So my like desk is a complete mess. So there's no sort of wiping of desks or like candles or good ambiance. I'll start my day with like making breakfast and a coffee. Like that's like my ritual, I guess. And then I'll just so pour a cup of coffee and then start editing.
Do you edit in the mornings?
Yeah, I would say I get most of my best editing done before lunch.
Okay, interesting. That's different because I think I've always thought my best editing comes at night, but I've been switching it more to daytime, and I haven't noticed a drop off in quality, I guess.
I feel like in the first 2 hours of my editing day, I can get like more done than the whole day combined.
Interesting.
Just because I'm like, usually I go to sleep, not like thinking about my edits, but like in the back of my mind, I'll think about it.
Yeah.
And like I'll know.
You know what clips
like
you
right
have.
when I wake up, because like sleep kind of puts your thoughts together a little bit better. So I'll wake up and just like know what I need to do in like an edit if I'm stuck or something. And I'll try to get as much as I can done out of the way. Because after lunch, I get kind of tired. And then like I go to the gym around like 6. So then like between like lunch and the gym, I'm kind of like, oh, like the day's kind of winding down.
Okay.
Not as motivated.
And now take us through from that period. So you wake up, breakfast, you're doing your editing in the morning, but from a more technical standpoint, which is what you were going to do. Run us through that.
Yeah. So like when starting an edit, the first thing I'll do is find a song that has like a structure that evokes the emotions I want to convey in the video. Because then I kind of have like that confidence that even if my cuts aren't great, like this song is so strong that it can like hold the edit together. And that just gives me enough like confidence to make really good cuts and things like that. So that'll be the first thing I start with. And then kind of while I'm looking for the song, I'll also be doing selects, which pretty much just means I'm going through every single frame of footage that I shot, scrubbing through every single frame and pulling out any single usable like part of that clip and putting it all in one timeline, which I'll organize by like location. Yeah. And then, so then I'll have like my selects timeline on the bottom. This is in Premiere Pro. I use like stack timelines, which is a cool feature of Premiere Pro that I don't think Resolve has yet. Maybe it does.
Shout out to wait, no. Fuck you, Resolve.
So
fuck you, DaVinci Resolve users.
No, but anyway, so I'll get to Resolve later. But so I have stack timelines. I have like selects on the bottom, and then I'll have my working timeline on top, and then I'll kind of bring clips up from my selects timeline to my like working timeline.
Right.
And that's kind of how I cut.
And that is the Taylor Cut Films.
That is the Taylor Cut
YouTube
Films
tutorial.
did teach me that.
I saw that.
Back in
I saw
2016.
that same tutorial. It's a great way to do it, I think, because then you have the stacked timeline, so you can be scrubbing through, and then you're just choosing the absolute best shots to put into the timeline. When you're doing selects, are you doing selects that, like, are you selecting any clip that could potentially be usable, or are you really just selecting the shots that you think you're going to use?
I have like a bad habit of just selecting anything that's usable because I just don't know if like there'll be a section where
I do that too, though. I don't think that's a bad
like,
habit.
Maybe there's like something that doesn't work on its own. But
I'll take anything that like it's not like shaky,
exactly,
or the color's not off or something like that. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Because that way, if you want to use like a transition or something, you just don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to need. So I just like everything in play, kind of.
And then, so once you start building the timeline, where do you go from there?
So the first thing I actually start with sometimes is sound design.
That's
and I put all of my effort into the, well, not all of it, but I put the most effort into the first 10 to 15 seconds of a video. And I'll kind of start that process with sound design because clips work a lot better when there's ambient sound underneath. So it just allows me a little bit more confidence to go into those first 10 to 15 seconds. And yeah. And I usually kind of use like the same general sound designs at like the beginning of edits.
Yeah, do you have like your few sound effects that you think are, these are pretty
the
staple?
Classic, like lens distortion.
Yeah,
like,
but you know which lens distortion one you like and everything.
Yeah, I just have like a huge folder of like sounds.
I have just a sound effects folder that's called Go To, and it has probably like 30 sound effects, and I'll go through them. I'm trying to get better though. I just got a better subscription to a better sound effects site. It was like $200.
What is it?
For like the
that.
year. It was called.
I was looking for new sounds.
Splice or something.
Oh, okay. I think I have heard of that.
Maybe not Splice. It was good though.
Hello.
Oi, this is Oliva. She's our project manager, producer.
Wow. Thank you.
Wait, you just gotta say one thing on a podcast, just so you can.
Say something. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Thank you for the oat milk latte.
You're so welcome for the oat milk latte.
Oh, she's a professional voiceover artist.
I
so if her
am.
voice sounds good,
I
like you might
am.
notice that, and you should hire her
True.
for VOs.
This is the USA.
Yeah, she's on a USA TV
Yeah.
commercial.
Thank you, Oliva. We'll get back to it. Sound design.
Sound design.
I actually found, so the biggest thing, it's interesting that you use sound design. I usually don't do that. I'll usually put off sound design to like the very end.
Yeah, I put like the bulk of the sound design off to the end, but the beginning I do first. And I'll kind of slowly add like little bits throughout the editing process, but I will have like large chunks of video without sound design.
Well, you said something really interesting in the car the other day when we were talking about this, which is that you try to like build the video as much as possible finalized.
Yeah.
So you can play it back on the timeline and like watch it and you're like, everything about that is still going to be in the video.
Yeah. I don't like going back. Like if I've passed a section of the video, I don't like going back and re-editing it. So I don't like the method of kind of roughly editing a video.
Yeah.
I just want it like finalized. And I usually have like my first version be like a full final version that like I'm really proud of. Like,
Well, so the problem that I have with that, I think it's a good system in some ways. There's pros and cons.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
problem is like,
you have a problem
I
with
think structurally, yeah, because it's like, say you get revisions, like or say like later on, I realize that structurally this isn't gonna work the way like I want to use these shots for later in the edit. That's why I think when I send you like a V1, if I wanted revisions on a video, actual revisions, I would send you a video that was just cuts and music, no sound effects, probably not colored, because then you can actually give me big changes that I could apply.
that's a good shout.
But I get it too.
No,
I see
like-
both sides of it though, because I also understand
Yeah.
like, because the other thing that we were talking about is the fact that once you get like a part of, say you're editing a 1 minute video, once you get a part of the video feel finalized, everything else usually just flows from that.
Yeah.
So that's the temptation too.
That's what I like about it. And I will say, like, I do feel like I get less revisions from clients from this method, even though it's more of a pain to do the revisions because I have a fully sound design video.
No, I agree.
And sound design is the worst when you're like making revisions. It's okay. It's easy to change. Like,
Sound design sucks when you're making revisions
there's
because
a million layers.
you
I
have a
usually
million
have, like,
layers.
at least 30 layers per like every like throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a million layers. You've got everything locked in. Every clip is where it's supposed to be. And then the client says it could be something small, but it could be like, just change this clip from the beginning to the end. And now the whole thing has to change. Or if they change the song, so you're making all these micro adjustments to cut to the beat. And now you have to change each sound effect to match.
Yeah.
That's why I think doing sound design early is dangerous. But I
is
also
dangerous.
understand like sometimes clips just don't look like they're going to work.
Yeah.
But we know they're going to work because we know that there's going to be a sound layer underneath
Right.
it.
I don't like the client. I don't want to leave anything up to the imagination of anybody.
Right.
I don't want to explain there will be sound design here because it's just not going to feel right, and they're going to give you a revision on that section of the video without the sound design there.
Yeah.
So I just like them to see it like how I actually think it's going to look finalized.
I think it works well in this situation.
Yeah.
It just depends.
And another thing is like I really like my V1 to be like my director's cut. So like that's the edit I would put on like my website or something. Because once clients start like
Messing with
giving
it?
you revisions, I just kind of lose passion for it.
Check
and I
out.
can't be like fighting with clients because they'll never like it's very hard to convince them otherwise. So I find it just like easier just to do what they say.
No, I
And
found-
keep my like little cut for myself.
I found early on like that's such a great way of doing it because I like to have a version. Every video that I work on, I want to have a version of it that's like my version that I can commit to. And so it makes sense just to knock that out as the V1. Just make the version 1 the exact vision you want. But yeah, once you start getting revisions from clients, and as soon as they send me something that I really think is just like wrong, where I'm like, you're actually like, sometimes I'll get revisions on clients more often than not, honestly, and they'll be like, yeah, this made the video better. Like the Saudi video I made. Some of those revisions were helpful. They shortened up some parts, tightened it up. But once they give me a revision that I think really ruins a video, sometimes it's hard for me to like get back into it. But
Yeah.
tough.
Stuff.
Once you do sound design though, where do you go from there? Once I have
like the first like 10-second sound design, then I'll start putting some clips in. Usually I want to make the first 10 seconds the most interesting part of the video to hook people in. And yeah, so I'll just kind of start putting maybe some of my best clips that I've shot at the beginning. I do like more quick cuts at the beginning too, more interesting. Like I'll usually try something new actually at the
How do
beginning
you
of every
do quick
video. I'll try
cuts though?
something new.
Like so, because I wouldn't classify you as a transitions guy,
no.
you definitely have energy, pace in all of your videos. When you're doing these quick cuts, what are you looking for?
I'm just looking for something that like you want to look for an action that you recognize immediately within only a few frames. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So
Okay.
I'll look for clips that like you just see a flash of it and you know like what it is. And I just will randomly put them together and see what works. So a lot of times like clips will not work with each other. And sometimes I'll try a quick cut and it just doesn't work and then we'll not do it at all. But yeah, if I'm doing like a quick cut, that's kind of what I look for.
Are these usually tight shots or are these more like
Could be
medium?
anything.
Could be
Yeah.
anything, right?
Could be anything.
Yeah, you're just looking for movement in the frame.
A lot of finding that is my selects process is so thorough.
When you're doing selects, do you flag clips that you find that you think are extra good, or do you just leave them in the bin?
I'll label them like a different color on the timeline.
Okay, yeah, I do too. I'll change it to like orange.
Or if there's like a weird whip pan that like I'm definitely gonna lose because it's only it's a very short clip, so it's very hard to see it in your selects timeline.
I only do it
Then
for
I'll make
bangers
it like
though.
a different. So I do it for either like bangers or transitional clips that I'm gonna have a hard time finding again.
Transition videos are interesting because so for this video that we're shooting right now, it's a hotel and it's more of a family friendly, I guess, video you could say. And it's not like a
Yeah, it's pretty family friendly.
pretty family friendly. We're shooting a family, like we're shooting like family activities. Yeah. But the way I'm going to edit this is going to be very much structure based. So I'm just going to go through the selects and then choose. I'm just going to flow it out, whatever makes sense sequentially. Like from the point of a day, like here's the activity section where they play basketball and throw axes.
Yeah.
Here's the part where they're chilling. But if I was going to do a video that I was trying to do like a lot of transitions, like the Saudi video, I actually start with the transitions.
Okay, yeah,
and then I build out from
sure.
there because I can't actually change. Like transitions like that are so specific that it's like, it's not like there's going to be a different option for this if I change. These scenes have to go next to each other because that's where the transition is.
Yeah, I do the same thing. So if I have like a specific transition or part of the video that I know is definitely going to go there, then I'll put it in and then I'll work around it. So sometimes I'll like skip ahead. Like if I'm kind of in a creative block at a certain point, I'll skip ahead and then I'll work backwards from that and like kind of bridge the gap.
Yeah, well, that's a great. Well, okay, let's finish out the whole sequence of your editing timeline. So now where do you go from there? You've built out the whole timeline. You have like a 1 minute, pretty rough sound design and everything, or you're not even rough.
Well, no, I guess like so. I did the intro, right? Cool and unique intro, trying something new, and then from there I'll know like what structure I want in the video. So like if it's like a hotel video, it's kind of obvious to start with like people checking in, like getting to their room. I'll always try to have some sort of logic behind the order of the clips that I use. So for like for a hotel video, start with checking in, get to your room, and then you're like doing activities around the hotel, and then the video will usually end with like sunset or something.
You gotta keep it. You gotta keep it till then.
Then the video will usually end with sunset, darker clips, blue hour clips.
Yeah, which just makes sense.
So I like to have like a logical, chronological kind of order.
And now you bring your timelines into DaVinci to grade, right?
Yeah. So now I don't use DaVinci to cut, but I use it to color grade.
What has the impact of using DaVinci Resolve been like for your workflow?
It's been pretty big. My color's definitely gotten better because in Premiere on Mac, your export will look different than what you see in the Premiere Pro timeline. And that's an issue you can fix on DaVinci.
Okay,
even though the default of DaVinci does the same thing.
Every time you export from Premiere, the colors are going to be slightly different.
They're definitely different. And there is a solution to use this LUT.
Why can't they just fix that?
I don't like that.
They must be able to just patch this, right?
Because Windows, it's not an issue. I used to use Windows actually, because when I was an engineer, all I used was Windows. So I didn't even start using Mac to edit until COVID started actually. In Windows, this wasn't an issue. And then with Mac, it is an issue. And DaVinci, I can see what it's actually going to look like when it exports. And you just have some more control over the clips. But I still will say, like, I mainly use LUTs to color grade. So I wouldn't consider myself like a colorist or that knowledgeable about it. But I'm able to have more control over the LUTs I use.
Well, I remember something you said to me in the office way back in the day that I still believe in, because I started trying to use DaVinci. I edited one of my Japan videos in DaVinci.
Yeah.
Like I was trying even back then, bro.
Yeah, that was a lot.
But the problem was I was bad at it because the nice thing about LUTs in Premiere Pro, like taking a LUT, putting it on an adjustment layer, and putting it over all your clips, there's a certain like consistency that you're going to get just because each clip is getting run through, especially if you took the time to color correct each shot. So all the white balance is dialed, all the exposures dialed, and you just drop the LUT like 50% on top. There's like a consistency in colors and everything is just going to look nice and synced up. What happened for me when I switched to DaVinci, which I don't use DaVinci right now, by the way, but when I was trying to use DaVinci back then, is I got so much control over each clip. I'm changing the colors of their skin. I'm changing the colors of this. I'm changing the colors of that I ended up just breaking all of my images and there's no longer consistency. But I would say obviously that's something that you can fix. Okay. It's just like that was a problem that I encountered because I don't color enough, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, so basically, I do the same process I did in Premiere with all those LUTs in DaVinci, though.
Right.
So I have still like adjustment layers, but they're just in the form of nodes.
What monitor do you use?
I just used an iMac, actually.
That's good,
Yeah,
though.
so it's interesting because not many people have like that type of monitor. So they're not like seeing the videos like how I'm seeing them on my end, but I think it's fine.
I think it looks better. The Apple monitors always look amazing.
There was one more thing I wanted to say about this. Oh, yeah. So when I'm editing, like I will color in Premiere Pro, like my old process with all the adjustment layers and LUTs, I'll still have it fully colored in Premiere Pro. So I can like watch through without being bothered by any color.
Yeah, you
issues.
like to really be able to watch
Like
it
I
back.
like, yeah, I just need to be able to like watch how it's going to look.
Realistically, when you make a video,
Okay.
when you finish the video,
Yeah.
how many times do you watch it?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh God. Like once I'm done, I'll like export it and like put it on my phone and I'll watch it everywhere.
You're gonna
like
watch
in
it
the gym,
all the
on the
time.
bathroom, the toilet, like anywhere. In bed
Lotion
before I
nearby,
go to sleep.
like
What was that?
lotion nearby.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Dude. Yeah. So I'll. And this is actually a bad habit I have. Yeah. I'll even like export progress. Honestly.
Oh wow.
So like if I'm halfway done, I'll export what I have and just like watch that too.
Really?
And I would say it's not a good thing. I would not recommend that because it's better to come in the next day with like a fresh eye. Because once you've watched it so much, you're used to where the cuts come.
Well, and you just
Yeah.
start to underappreciate it too.
Yeah, you just
don't
like,
realize
don't really
how
see
it's
it,
like you
how
it's-
somebody else would see it.
And I think too.
Yeah.
So like, say I have like a late night editing, and usually I'll have honestly almost every project I do. There's usually like one night where it really comes together. Like
Yeah.
most of the bulk of my work is usually done in like one night.
Oh yeah.
Where things are really being put together.
Yeah.
But so let's say at the end of that night, right? I'm feeling stoked. I finally have a timeline. I'm feeling like all this procrastination. And I've got the timeline rendered through, but I'm about to log off and go to bed. I won't watch the timeline through again. I'll actually go to sleep.
That's
I'll
good,
want
yeah.
to, but
No,
I'll
no,
be
no,
like,
that's
no.
good.
Like
should
wait
do
till the
this.
morning and then watch it. No, but I still do. I ask about the watching it when you finish the video though, because I do
Yeah,
that
when I
too.
finish it, I watch it.
I've
a
watched them in
bunch.
the gym,
and then I get tired of them, and then I don't watch
and then they
them.
suck.
'Cause, like, at a
Eventually, for
certain
me,
point,
I'm like
just
stoked
ugh.
on it.
Yeah.
For like a couple days, and then I'll watch it back again and be like, this is sloppy.
Like the
this
first
was
time you see it
wrong.
after the export, you're like, "This is great."
This is the shit.
Like, yeah. And
I
then-
am God.
Yeah, like I'm Sam Coulter, reincarnated. I'm just kidding.
It's funny though. I think a lot of people rewatch, or even rewatching stories. I know you do that.
Oh my god!
Like when you have a good
that's
story
really
that you
embarrassing
like.
quality too. I'm just like looking at my highlights all day.
I think a lot
long.
of people do that though.
Pretty bad.
But
Wouldn't
it is
recommend
interesting. It's
doing
like
all of
reliving
this.
your life, kind of. through
Yeah,
a
it's like
third
reliving the
perspective.
memories and just I'm like proud of the stories. Like I definitely put a lot of effort into my stories. But
All right, and then for the people wondering, I mean, this is a technical episode that's just give them what they want.
This has been very.
This is what they
technical,
want.
yeah.
They want to
If you're a
know
video editor, you'd love this.
what camera are you using.
Oh, so I use the Blackmagic 6K Pro. But sometimes for certain shoots, maybe I'll have another camera. I just recently had a shoot in Greece where another shooter I was with, Cash Sheridan, shout out to him. He brought his red Komodo. So I want to start maybe switching over to the red Komodo.
What
for
about the
video.
red appeals to you?
So it looks cool.
Like you mean the actual body looks cool.
It looks sick. The footage is just nice. Yeah, I just liked how it looked. It's very subtle, all of these differences between cameras, and you can't really tell clip by clip.
The red
It's-
does have a
it's
look,
the
though.
overall there's just like a feeling to it. And when you cut Blackmagic and red together, you can't tell a difference. But there's just like a small
Really, you don't think you can tell a
quality
difference between Blackmagic and red?
like if they're cut together in a good way and you color them then it would be kind of hard to like say which one is the other.
I agree.
can tell,
especially when you're
like,
posting it
some
on.
people are using
would you say that even in a timeline with the raw clips?
I can tell in the timeline, and like I can like tell for sure a little bit, but I think it's pretty hard to tell. I usually can tell more if somebody's using a cinema camera as their A cam and then like a DSLR as their B cam. So somebody's using like a Blackmagic and a Canon R5 or something, which is
Yeah,
a
you
common
can tell
setup.
when they cut to the R5.
Or like a Sony FS6 and a Sony A7S.
You could never tell this.
Then you could definitely tell.
You couldn't tell. You don't even know what this camera looks like,
true,
dude.
true.
There's no way you could tell. I'm telling you, you could not tell.
I don't know about the Sony yet. 'Cause
Sony's
I
you couldn't.
haven't
Red
watched
and
a video.
Blackmagic, Red and Blackmagic, you could. Sony's it would be really.
I
Tough
can
to
tell when it's a Canon R5 and a Blackmagic.
Yeah, but the R5 has a look, bro.
Now the red and the Blackmagic, I think if you're a good colorist though, you can really make anything work. I'm not saying I am, but I think it is possible to color these clips to look very similar.
All right, man. Let's get into
Yeah, let's get
traveling.
into something
Let's get
else.
into traveling, man.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get into travel photography.
Yeah.
I think Preston Chen, shout out to Preston. He said that you probably have like the
said something
best photos on Instagram.
What? No way.
He said
That's
like
insane.
I think at one point you were
Well,
like,
thank you,
is-
Preston.
I
He did
think
say
you
that,
said
actually,
this,
I
something
think.
like that.
I
Yeah,
think I
like
did hear this. But thank you, but
you
that's
take
not true.
very good composed like Instagram photos. What is your I know your process because I've taken some of them by this point.
So
but,
here's
like,
the secret: is I'm just traveling with good photographers, and most of my photos are me.
That's
so
not
I would
true,
say,
though, 'cause you have a very
let me just
specific
name
vision.
3 names:
Okay.
Corey Fay, Andrew James, Logan Armstrong. I give them credit to my Instagram feed because I'm usually traveling with one of those 3 people, and they're very good at taking my photo and getting good compositions. But I do appreciate. But I do
think you're
like
a good
the
editor
editing
too,
and the colors.
and you
stuff.
have a good pose.
Yeah.
How do you achieve the jawline?
Just I don't know, just natural.
Natural. Can you do one for the camera real quick? Just kind of. Is that your side?
Like I'm not even good at posing.
Which side do you
I
look?
really am not a great at Instagram.
Do you look on
posing
your
or
left, your right side?
Yeah, I usually look this way.
That's your side.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So I think I could do a lot better with that. But I'm trying to maybe post more just like landscape photos, less of me. There was like a period where I was posting just like a lot of myself, mainly because I had like this brand deal with this clothing company, so like, I had to. But now I'm kind of trying to shoot more like landscape photography. That's kind of more what I'm into, just shooting like landscapes. And I really like shooting portraits of like other people, like local people in certain areas. And I've kind of drifted away from that. And I kind of want to
Get back into that.
get more into like, just
Taking photos of people.
I would say photography is like my hobby.
Would you
I
like
wouldn't
walk up
consider
to like a
myself,
random stranger in a country and be like, "Can I take your photo?"
Yeah.
You would do that?
Yeah. But like, not all the time.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about you've had a busy couple months actually, because you went to Greece. I just thought about this when I was writing the questions for this. Greece, Japan, and Scotland in the past like month.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been like the craziest year of travel for me because COVID's kind of coming to an end. Asia's opening up, so I've gone to Asia a lot this year. I went to actually Bangkok and Singapore also this year, which are some new countries. So I think this is the year of going to new countries for me. Last year was the year of like visiting places I'd kind of already been, and then this year is a lot of trying to go to as many new places as I can.
Yeah, man. What was your favorite thing about Japan?
Wow. I really like the culture and just the overall aesthetic of everything. And it's just kind of been a bucket list place for a long time for me.
Would you live in Japan?
I don't think I would live there now, but I would like to spend like an extended period of time there.
Do you like the aesthetic of the Japan?
Well, yeah. And like my aunt is actually Japanese and my cousins are like half Japanese. So I've always like kind of been, because of them, like been exposed to like Japanese culture. Like they'd give me like Japanese like candy every day, like every year for like Christmas or something like that. So because of that, I've just been like always wanting to go to Japan. And there's just so many cool places to shoot there.
And then you went to Greece?
Then I went to Greece, yeah. Santorini and Mykonos.
What's
for another
Greek
shoot.
culture like, besides like the obvious things? What are the vibes of the people on
Really
the ground?
nice, yeah. Really nice people. Actually, there's one thing about Japan is like a huge language barrier. Not too many people speak English there. But in Greece, like everybody speaks English. So
Right.
traveling there is really easy if you're like a first-time traveler. Yeah, so everyone's just really nice and cool.
From a shooting perspective, which do you prefer?
What do you mean?
Japan or Greece?
This is okay. Between those, I actually think my footage looked better in Greece, but I preferred to shoot Japan. I guess because I was shooting like Santorini and Mykonos. Like I don't really like shooting places that everyone has posted a photo of.
There's more room for expression
In Japan, everyone's also posted a photo of.
Yeah,
all
but
those places.
but there's like a lot of. I don't think there's been that many great. Ironically, I don't think there's that many great cinematic videos from Japan.
Yeah, there aren't. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's
There
like the
really
same
haven't
video made
been
over a
too
few
many.
times. So,
Really, yeah. I mean, there probably is. I just haven't seen them or something.
do you think when Japanese influencers come to New York, they're all like making the same New York video over and over again? And we just don't even see those.
Maybe,
shots?
dude. Actually,
I hope so.
There's a lot of the same. People don't shoot in New York well either. Actually, there's definitely a lot of. The
I think
same.
cities in general are just really
It's just
difficult
tough,
to
yeah.
shoot in. Really
Yeah.
difficult.
But
to
I
shoot
do.
in.
Yeah, cities are. I have a hard. I'd rather shoot like nature. It's like Isle of Skye is like my ideal.
And it's just more
location.
peaceful. Like
Yeah,
it's just
calm,
nice and like
calm.
there's no people around.
Like,
You can
it's
take your
not-
time.
It's just easy. Yeah, you're just like on a road trip or something, like driving from location to location.
And when you're in a city, if you're taking public transportation, then you would like. I like having a car where you can just throw your stuff in, and then you get to take a break in the car and chill out, and it makes it a lot better. All right, man. How do you think? Let's transition as a professional working in the editing filmmaking space. Are you at all concerned about AI?
Oh my god. I've learned more about AI from Andrew over the last few weeks than ever before. But am I concerned about it?
Yeah, are you concerned at all?
Not really. I think if anything, it's just going to make my job easier. Like already with Photoshop, like right now they have the generative fill tool. And it's kind of like the first use of AI in anything that I'm working on. And that's already just like saving me time because like I don't have to clone stamp as much stuff, and clone stamping takes forever.
Yeah, it's just
so
a good,
I really think
tool.
it's just going to be a tool that we can all use to make our lives easier. I don't know that. Well, I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen Black Mirror season 6, but there is that episode where AI just makes like full videos.
Well, let's just talk about it, guys. If you don't want this spoiled, then click out. But basically, it's called Joan is Awful, and the concept is like they can generate movies. AI can generate movies that look photorealistic, and so they track your phone or they track your life, and then every day at the end of your life, like there's an episode that
like on Netflix,
Netflix,
and everybody can watch
of what happened in your life, and then they change subtle things so like they can shape the narrative. But it would be crazy if they
that
could
would be like worst case scenario.
This is worst case.
I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think that will happen like in the next like. I mean, it might. I just don't know. Yeah.
I agree with you though. I think that's the best way to look at it. Is it's just like thankfully we are still executors, and so like you said at the beginning of this conversation, from the beginning when you were working with that artist, you were executing an idea, a concept. Concept people are definitely in a little bit more trouble right now because concepts got a lot easier to come up with because of, I'm not saying you still have to refine, but it's become a lot easier. But people who are executing, I still think it's just going to make executors' jobs a little easier. The other thing that's really cool is like, I mean, you've noticed this, like when you say like, when you're making a video and you're doing the sound design and you're coloring and you're the one who shot it and you're basically, you are the director, you're doing all these jobs that used to be like 10 different people's jobs, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so I think all ChatGPT and AI should do for people like me and you right now is just make our lives easier and help us not have to rely on other people more.
Yeah, I think so. I think if anything, it might affect editing more than shooting. I think us being able to shoot stuff is really important because there might be a day where you just submit all of your clips to like an AI and then it makes a great edit or something. But I still think even that, like you really need like somebody guiding the edit. So what I'm saying, anything that might be in danger. But I think the actual shooting of the clips is something that will be safe.
For a while. It's got to be for a while. Because people want to know that what they're shooting. Number one, I don't think they can generate photorealistic videos yet.
Yeah.
It would be really tough for me to get this video from an AI. I don't think you could, right?
Right.
But the other thing is I've used for this podcast right now, I'm going to use Autopod, which is like what went viral on Instagram and TikTok as the AI video editor.
Right.
And it is a cool feature and it's going to make this video better. It'll make this really easy to edit, but I wouldn't actually call it artificial intelligence in the same way that ChatGPT is.
Right.
Because basically it's just a formula of like, it knows that my voice sounds like this, which wouldn't be that hard to say.
Right.
And then it knows what your voice sounds like. I basically tell it which track the audio is on for mine and which track the video is on for mine. And then it just cuts it up. So it's not actually like making that many decisions. If anything, it's not making any decisions. So these types of editing that you're doing, the type of editing that you're describing where it's a lot about like feeling out the moment, feeling out the clip. Does this clip feel right in this moment? I really don't know how AI is going to be able to do that.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's why I'm not like too worried about it right now.
Not too worried.
But I am definitely like, thinking about the future, like what it will be like. But it's hard to say. I mean
when
technology is going on an exponential curve, like it's hard to predict like what things will be like.
Yeah. It's fun right now. Honestly, it's like my editing was getting kind of dull.
Yeah, now
so it's really nice to have like a kick.
Trying all these little
I'm trying all these little things. And this video for sure will be easier to edit. Let's talk about content creators who are up and coming.
Okay.
All right. Because you met me when I first was getting started. I was 17 when I met Chris. We were working in New York together. I just got there. And the cool thing about Beautiful Destinations is that it's a very good process for learning because just right now, literally, we are on a shoot. And it's me and Chris, we're the shooters, and then Aliva, the person who hopped on for the podcast for a second, is our producer, and that's it. Like, we're the ones who are going to make this video. Obviously, there's a client and there's other people involved, but so because of the format of these trips, so I got to start getting sent out on trips like this with Chris, and then you get to learn so much just by watching people work. What would your advice be to creators getting started in this space now?
I would say, I think you need to figure out what type of videos you want to make first before anything.
Okay.
And figure out what type of things you like making. And then get really good at that type of video so that people will pay you to make what you actually like making.
Yeah.
That would be one of my...
That's a great point, because there's industries for everything.
Yeah.
But these industries are so niche, like snowboarding. Like if you want to be a snowboarding videographer, you've got to like make snowboarding videos.
Yeah, exactly. And like with that one video I mentioned earlier with the artist, one of the first ones I did, that was a lot of After Effects work.
Okay.
And I realized I did not like doing
Heavy
crazy
After Effects
animation. So I've developed my style to be just hard cuts, like no transitions. So people are now hiring me because of the style where I don't have to go into After Effects. And
Totally.
now I like making that. And yeah, so I'm getting paid to make the type of videos I like to make. So as a young creator, I would just figure out what you like making and try, a bunch of different styles. And it's okay to like try to not like copy, but kind of make videos like people you look up to. And because when I started making videos, like I was looking up to a bunch of filmmakers and kind of trying to emulate their style. And in turn, I ended up like making my own style from all of those inspirations. So I think it's okay to kind of copy other people at first, not like copy, but kind of emulate other people. Try as many different video styles as you can and just figure out what you like and really try to and try to put as much effort as you can into like any single video you make at the beginning.
Well, I think what you said is really valuable about, and this applies to more than just filmmaking and videography, but it's like if you're trying to make your side hustle your job, or you're trying to get into a new industry and you want to have a job that you like, just start doing the job how you would want to be paid to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And just go from there. Because if you branding is super important. Like once you make one video, like I've made a couple videos in New York a while ago, and I get hired as like the New York videographer. Like that's why I got hired for this job I did a couple months ago with this Peruvian tourism board in New York, is just because someone had seen my New York video online. And so it's not that you have to be careful with what you put out there, but it's like the work that you put out there will be seen by some people, even if you don't have an audience, and that's how you'll get branded. So do what you want to do more of.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like some people will be like DMing me trying to get in the travel space, but their whole portfolio is not travel videos. So, if you want to do travel videography, like before I did this full time, I would use my vacation time and go on trips with some of my friends and make a travel video. Just California road trip. I did one in like Canada too. So if you want to, travel specific, like be in this space, then you need to, and you don't even need to go far. You can make a travel video in like your hometown or a close by city. I mean, because everywhere is a destination to somebody.
Did you ever make a video in Baltimore?
The artist video thing was in. I never made a travel video. I mean, I honestly did like fly to cool places, but it's not necessary.
No, it's not necessary. You can learn a lot on.
Because I mean, one of the biggest clients BD has is the U.S. Tourism Board. So we're making videos in like places people don't really think about going on vacation on. Like for example, like we shot like a tourism ad in like Iowa. Like nobody would go on vacation there, but like we went there and shot it in like the BD style, and it looks kind of cool. So even if you think you live in somewhere that's like stereotypically like not that cool of a place, like you can create like beautiful content from it.
Well, and I really do think that like the work that you did on Brand New Say and the work that I got to do, which wasn't as much, but like I worked on it a bit, helped a lot because we were forced to shoot things that just weren't necessarily the obvious things to shoot. Yeah. And so it forces you into a box of trying to just think about how can we make the best of what we have in this scene. Yeah. And that's actually valuable. So to be honest with you, what's valuable is I want to work with people who shoot a lot of boring stuff well. Right. Because those are the guys who can bring something to the table and can really help me. Whereas if you're someone who's a good shooter, like your content is really good, but every single shot that you're posting is from like an incredible destination, it is easier. There's just no way around it. It's like way easier to get good shots in the travel industry when you're traveling. So definitely if you're someone who's trying to get into this space, film a video wherever you live. You live somewhere, if you're alive, film a video there.
Yeah.
Because I filmed one of my first videos in DC,
Yeah.
which is like not cool, but it's not great. Like it's
Right.
not like the obvious place to make a travel destination. But even before that, I was making videos in like Virginia Beach, like where I learned how to do day to night time lapses. Like was in Norfolk, Virginia, shooting the skyline, and I still use the techniques that I learned from that time lapse this day because it forced me to use LR time lapse. So I had to learn a new program. So yeah, I think that's really smart.
Because there's so many like creators out there that are just going to the top spots around the world, and when we're looking to hire them for beautiful destinations work, I always like take their work with a grain of salt because I'm not sure how they would do if they had to shoot like a museum in Virginia or something. Like, can they shoot that?
Can they shoot that?
Because if you're, in like photographers, videographers, both, like can you shoot like the most mundane thing and make it look cool? Like to me, that is what I'm looking for.
Well, and that's what makes you hireable. I mean, that's what you get paid. Like that's what people get paid to do.
And we've like hired people that have amazing Instagrams, and then like
they suck.
Their photo work is really bad. Like they only can take cool like drone shots of like the best locations in the world, but they couldn't shoot like a chef cooking something.
Well, to me, that's the difference between an influencer photographer and like a photographer filmmaker.
Yes, I would say that's the big difference.
Yeah, are you getting paid just to make photos look good of this like space? If that makes sense. What do you think the difference is? Do you think there's a fundamental difference between photographers and filmmakers?
Yeah, I think I would say there's less photographers that also are good at filmmakers, but most filmmakers are pretty good photographers. I think that's what that's something I've noticed. Photographers are really good at composition. Like when they do video, it's usually like really good composition and like just kind of static shots that are kind of cool. Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference. It's very different art forms because for a photo, you only have one frame to get everything you want. To capture a story in one frame is really hard. We have, minutes and seconds and a ton of time to tell our story.
And resources, sound design, music.
There's a lot more like things that go into video, I'd say, but it's definitely easier to like make a mistake and still make a good video.
Yeah, for sure.
But for a photographer, you have to get it right in one frame, which is a lot harder. You have to be way more thoughtful about like the composition and
well, I just have always thought like the problem with photographers transitioning to filmmaking is that they're just thinking about the world building wrong, where when I look at a scene or when you look at a scene, I know for a fact, like when we're shooting the fly fishing river, that you're looking at the water too, thinking like we get a tight of the water moving.
Yeah, we get
some sound design underneath that, then we cut to them. And you're building like this environment. But I think it's very real to the way that we experience life as humans, actually, because even like when I'm doing this podcast, although the frame is wide vision wise, like I can see a lot peripheral.
Yeah, peripherally.
I can see a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a wide angle, probably like a 14. But really, I'm either looking at you, and now this has become like a 50 in my mind, or I look at the camera, and now that's basically like an 85 of the camera. And so it's just a better way of...
Yeah, I thought about it like that.
You know what I mean? Like, you're like, we're latching on to frames all the time.
Right.
And so I think filmmaking is just, that's what, it makes more sense. And even when you look at a good wide photo, so this only applies to wide photos, like wide Instagram photos. But even when you look at a good wide photo, it's rare that I'm looking at the photo as a whole. Mm-hmm. Even then, I'm breaking it down into, oh, look, here's Chris, in the midground, there's the background. And it's just, you're always breaking it down visually. And as a filmmaker, you get to choose what parts that they look at when. And that's kind of the value. Mm-hmm. You don't even get to see the wide yet. I'm going to show you this. Right. I'm going to show you the rocks. And you're creating then I'm going to show you the trees
in your head about the whole area.
And then you hit them with the wide. So I think sometimes photographers just don't necessarily understand that. But it's not like a rule. That's just like a general stereotype, I guess.
Yeah, and they just don't have the experience a lot of times. Like I'm sure if photographers spent the same amount of hours thinking about this, then they would just become a videographer at a certain point.
Did you want to be a photographer when you were younger?
I think I started more with like photos. Yeah, I started like most people would start with photography. But then I really preferred video like when I was like, I don't know, like 20 or something. When I got like a GoPro.
Well, what's funny is I always thought it was lame. Like I never thought I would be doing video stuff.
You thought video was lame?
I just thought all of it was lame.
All of it was lame.
I thought like big like Nikon cameras that people had were lame.
Well, it's weird because photography almost used to be like nerdy, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you see like those old guys still that are so about like the technical.
Well, unfortunately, I think it is still nerdy, and we just don't realize it because we're nerds.
But it like gives you like But nowadays, yeah, it's
Now
definitely
there's
still
more social
nerdy,
power with it.
but it's like photographers now on Instagram are almost like little mini celebrities.
I
Not
think
like
in our world,
celebrities,
though, I
but-
think it's probably because
Well,
that is
just-
probably because of our world.
But like back in the day, like photographer, you think, you see these kind of older guys on some of these areas that are not the same personality types as photographers today. Because now there's different motivations behind it. Some people might have like bad motivations behind getting into photography and Instagram. Like some people might just want like to
Clout.
be cool, clout. Yeah.
Clout,
So there's
yeah.
definitely different.
I think it just
things
attracts
going
different
into
people.
it.
In a
Yeah.
weird way, I wouldn't even identify myself as a photographer. I do when people introduce myself to people just
Mm-hmm.
out of like ease.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like a photographer, honestly, like because I mainly focus on video. I would say like photography is like my hobby, even though I do get paid to do it. Like it's more of like a hobby.
This is your passion, dude. This
Video
what
is like
you're
my
into.
passion,
Yeah.
but photography is kind of just like something. Like I don't like pursue it at the same level or rate or anything. Like I just kind of am happy to get like a couple good photos from a place, but I'm not really thinking about that hard.
Yeah.
But for video, I'm like very different mentality.
Okay, so the last thing I want to explore is a topic that this is just for me. I think this is just an interesting idea, but it's not even like, I don't even know if this is going to be interesting for the podcast, but I don't really care.
Okay.
So it's this is completely different, but I think it's an interesting perspective that you have in life, which is like, and it's not even a perspective you're committed to, but like the hustle culture thing where you have a good balance of aspiration, right? You clearly know how to like ideate a better life and then make that happen because you're here. So like you know how to do these things, but you are someone who is a good inspiration for me of someone who in a lot of ways is content, I guess. And although you do want to always be improving, like you always want to get the next camera, improve your skill, hone your craft, you're not someone that I would consider worried about a lot of the vain things that I think a lot of people get caught up in.
Yeah.
Is that something that, have you always been that way, or where does that come from?
Where does it come from?
God.
Yeah, I definitely think I'm somebody that's like I think it comes from like growing up in like a household where my parents did like really well and like but they weren't like overly ambitious, and like what provided them fulfillment in life was like having a family and like a stable job and stability. So because of that, I've also valued those things. So I'm not like, I do like being like in a stable job. I like being content. I like being comfortable. I know like there's a big narrative like to always be in discomfort all the time to be better. But I like don't really want to feel uncomfortable like every second of my life. Like I like doing a lot of work, grinding, and then being able to kind of enjoy life after I put that effort in and just be more content after I've kind of put the work in.
I agree. I think that's a better, healthier mindset, actually. And a lot of this, what I'm worried about now is a lot of this hustle culture that we have, like this David Goggins. There's so much pros to that for sure. If you get inspiration, I read his book, right? Like I like David Goggins as much as the next guy. You can definitely learn stuff from people like that. But I think our culture constantly is pushing on us better. And really what it is they're only pushing that narrative because they just want the markets to keep moving and they want the innovation to keep moving. And so all of our content and all of our media and our movies, it's all telling us grind. And it's important to work hard and try new things, but you got to enjoy life too.
Yeah, you can't just always be grinding. And I think a lot of people eventually realize that when they burn out. But yeah, there is like a huge culture of just like grind. Like, and especially in the video work, because a lot of people have like an entrepreneurial mindset in this industry. And that's kind of the same mindset that is like always trying new things, like always on the grind. And I guess I'm a little different than a lot of people in that way because I'm not very entrepreneurial. That's why I like being full-time at like beautiful destinations. I really just want to make good work, go on cool trips, and like hang out with people I like. Those are kind of my three things that I value the most in life. More
And I
than
think
like
those are
a certain
very-
accolade or winning an award or like being the best in the game or something like that. But yeah,
Very good things about you.
thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Christopher Shepard interview, GlobeFocus episode 8 or 9, I forget. He'll certainly be back. We'll get more into the details. I appreciate any of you guys out there who listen to this. There's definitely, honestly, some value in what Chris is saying. So I hope if you're an aspiring content creator, videographer, that you guys took some notes on Mr. C Chef's editing process. I have a lot of respect for you, Chris. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
And that's it. Catch you guys later.